Now she heard someone approaching, and the sound was just as she had imagined, the tired whisper of old slippers. She looked around wildly and came very, very close to just taking to her heels. Could she make it down the cement walk and around the corner, leaving her father to think it had been nothing but kids playing pranks? "Hey, mister, you got Prince Albert in a can?" She let out a sudden sharp breath and had to tighten her throat because what wanted to come out was a laugh of relief. It wasn't her father at all. Standing in the doorway and looking out at her was a tall woman in her late 70s. Her hair was long and gorgeous, mostly white but shot through with loads of purest gold. Behind her rimless spectacles were eyes as blue as the water in the fjords her ancestors had hailed from. She wore a purple dress of watered silk. It was shabby but still dignified. Her wrinkled face was kind. "Yes, miss?" "I'm sorry," Beverly said. The urge to laugh had passed as swiftly as it had come. She noticed that the old woman wore a cameo at her throat. It was almost certainly real ivory, surrounded by a band of gold so thin it was nearly invisible. "I must have rung the wrong bell, or rang the wrong bell on purpose," her mind whispered. "I meant to ring for Marsh." "Marsh?" Her forehead wrinkled delicately. "Yes, you see, there's no Marsh here," the old woman said. "But, unless you don't mean Alvin Marsh, do you?" "Yes," Beverly said, "my father." The old woman's hand rose to the cameo and touched it. She peered more closely at Beverly, making her feel ridiculously young, as if she should perhaps have a box of Girl Scout cookies in her hands, or maybe some tags. "Support the Derry High School Tigers." Then the old woman smiled, a kind smile that was nonetheless sad. "Why, you have fallen out of touch, miss. I don't want to be the one who tells you this, a stranger, but your father has been dead these last 5 years. But, on the bell," she looked again and uttered a small bewildered sound that was not quite a laugh. In her agitation, in her subconscious but rock-solid certainty that her old man would still be here, she had read Kirsch as Marsh. "You're Mrs. Kirsch?" she asked. She was staggered by this news of her father, but she also felt stupid about the mistake. The lady would think her little more than illiterate. "Mrs. Kirsch," she agreed. Did you know my dad?" "Very little did I know him," Mrs. Kirsch said. She sounded a little like Yoda in The Empire Strikes Back, and Beverly felt like laughing again. When had her emotions gone whip-sawing so violently back and forth? The truth was she couldn't remember a time, but she was dismally afraid she would before much longer. "He rented the ground floor apartment before me. We saw each other, me coming and him going, over a space of a few days. He moved down to Roward Lane. Do you know it?" "Yes," Beverly said. Roward Lane branched off from Lower Main Street 4 blocks farther down, where the apartment buildings were smaller and even more desperately shabby. "I used to see him at the Costello Avenue Market sometimes," Mrs. Kerr said, "and at the washateria before they closed it. We passed a word from time to time. Girl, you're pale. I'm sorry. Come in and let me give you tea." "No, I couldn't," Beverly said weakly, but in fact, she actually felt pale, like clouded glass. Son of a bitch. Hold on, let me drink some water. Better.
You're going to keep
Yeah.
that part in the podcast. It's like,
"No, I couldn't," Beverly said weakly, but in fact she actually felt pale, like clouded glass that you could nearly look through. She could use tea and a chair in which to sit and drink it. "You could and you will," Mrs. Kirsch said warmly. "It's the least I can do for having told you such unpleasant news." Before she could protest, Beverly found herself being led up the gloomy hall and into her old apartment, which now seemed much smaller but safe enough. Safe, she supposed, because almost everything was different. Instead of the pink-topped Formica table with its 3 chairs, there was a small round table, really not much bigger than an end table, with silk flowers in a pottery vase. Instead of the old Kelvinator refrigerator with the round drum on top, her father tinkered with it constantly to keep it going, there was a copper-colored Frigidaire. The stove was small but efficient looking. There was a mono-radar range above it. Bright blue curtains hung in the windows, and she could see flower boxes outside them. The floor, linoleum when she was a girl here, had been stripped to its original wood. Many applications of oil made it glow mellowly. Mrs. Kirsch looked around from the stove, where she was placing a teapot. "You grew up here?" "Yes," Beverly said, "but it's very different now. So trim and tidy. Wonderful." "How kind you are," Mrs. Kirsch said, and her smile made her younger. It was radiant. I have a little money, you see. Not much, but with my social security I am comfortable. Once I was a girl in Sweden. I came to this country in 1920, a girl of 14 with no money, which is the best way to learn the value of money, would you agree? Yes, Bev said. At the hospital I worked, Mrs. Kirsch said. Many years, from 1925 I worked there. I rose to the position of head housekeeper, all the keys I had. My husband invested our money quite well. Now I have reached a little harbor. Look around, miss, while the water boils. No, I couldn't. Please. Still, I feel guilty. Look if you like. And so she did. Her parents' bedroom was now Mrs. Kirsch's bedroom, and the difference was profound. The room seemed brighter and airier now. A large cedar chest, the initials RG inlaid into it, breathed its gentle aroma into the air. A gigantic surprise quilt lay on the bed. On it she could see women drawing water, boys driving cattle, men building haystacks. A wonderful quilt. Her room had become a sewing room. A black Singer machine stood on a wrought iron table under a pair of starkly efficient tensor lamps. A picture of Jesus hung on one wall, a picture of John F. Kennedy on another. A beautiful break front stood below the picture of JFK. It was filled with books instead of china, but seemed none the worse for that. She went into the bathroom last. It had been redone in a rose color that was too low and pleasant to seem gaudy. All of the fixtures were new, and yet she approached the basin feeling that the old nightmare had gripped her again. She would peer down into the black and lidless eye. The whispering would begin, and then the blood. She leaned over the sink, catching a glimpse of her pallid face and dark eyes in the mirror over the basin, and then she stared into that eye, waiting for the voices, the laughter, the groans, the blood. How long must she have stood there, bent over the sink, waiting for the sighs and sounds 27 years gone? She didn't know. It was Mrs. Kirsch's voice that bid her return. "Tea, miss." She jerked back. The semi-hypnosis broke and left the bathroom. If there had been dark magic somewhere down in that drain, it was gone now, or was sleeping. "Oh, you shouldn't have." Mrs. Kirsch looked up at her brightly, smiling a little. "Oh, miss, if you knew how seldom company calls these days, you'd not say so. Why, I put on more than this for the man from the Bangor Hydro who comes to read my meter. I'm making him fat." Delicate cups and saucers stood on the round kitchen table, a clean bone white edged with blue. There was a plate of small cakes and cookies.
Yes.
Beside the sweets, a pewter teapot chuffed mild steam and pleasant fragrance. Bemused, Bev thought that the only things missing were the tiny sandwiches with the crust cut off. Aunt sandwiches. Never heard of that. Sorry, side note. She'd thought them. Always one word. 3 main types of aunt sandwiches. Cream cheese and olive, watercress, and egg salad. "Sit down," said Mrs. Kirsch. "Sit down, miss, and I'll pour out." Pour out for the homies, you know what I mean, boys?
They're pulling up for the homies.
All right, I gotta get through this shit. There's only a couple pages left, I think. "I'm not a miss," Beverly said, and raised her left hand so that her ring would show. Mrs. Kirsch smiled and pushed a hand through the air. "Pshaw," the jester said. "I call all the pretty young girls miss," she said. "Just a habit. Don't take offense." "No," Beverly said, "not at all." But for some reason she felt a feather touch of unease. There was something in the old woman's smile that it seemed a little, unpleasant? False? Knowing? But that was ridiculous, wasn't it? "I love what you've done to the place." "Do you?" Mrs. Kirsch said, and poured out. The tea looked dark, muddy. Beverly wasn't sure she wanted to drink it, and suddenly she wasn't sure she wanted to be here at all. "It did say Marsh under the doorbell," her mind whispered suddenly, and she was frightened. Mrs. Kirsch passed her tea. "Thank you," Beverly said. The look of it might have been muddy. The aroma, however, was wonderful. She tasted. It was fine. "Stop jumping at shadows," she told herself. "That cedar chest in particular is a wonderful piece. An antique, that one," Mrs. Kirsch said, and laughed. Beverly noticed that the old woman's beauty was flawed on only one score, and that was common enough here in the Northlands. Her teeth were very bad, strong looking but bad all the same. They were yellow, and the front two had crossed each other. The canine seemed very long, almost like tusk. They were white. When she came to the door, she smiled, and you thought to yourself how white they were. Suddenly she was not just a little frightened. Suddenly she needed to be away from here. Very old, oh yes, Mrs. Kirsch exclaimed, and drank her cup of tea off at a single gulp with a sudden, shocking, slurping sound. She smiled at Beverly, grinned at her, and Beverly saw that the woman's eyes had changed too. The corneas were now yellow, ancient, threaded with bleary stitches of red. Her hair was thinner. The braid looked malnourished, no longer silver shot with bright yellow, but a dull gray. Very old, Mrs. Kirsch reminisced over her empty cup, looking slyly at Beverly from her yellow eyes. Her snaggle teeth showed in that repulsive, almost leering grin. From home with me it came. The RG carved into it? You noticed? Yes, her voice came from far away, and a part of her brain yammered. If she doesn't know you've seen the change, perhaps you're still all right. If she doesn't know, doesn't see. My father, she said, pronounced it fodder, and Beverly saw that her dress had also changed. It had become a scabrous, peeling black. The cameo was a skull, its jaw hung in a diseased gape. His name was Robert Gray, better known as Bob Gray, better known as Pennywise the Dancing Clown. Although that was not his name either, but he did love his joke, my father. She laughed again. Some of her teeth had turned as black as her dress. The wrinkles in her skin now cut deep. Her milk-rose skin had gone a sickly yellow. Her fingers were claws. She grinned at Beverly. Have something to eat, dear. Her voice had risen half an octave, but the octave was cracked in its register, and her voice was the sound of a crypt door swinging mindlessly on hinges clawed with black earth. No, thank you, Beverly heard her mouth say in a child's high, oh, I must be going voice. The words did not seem to originate in her brain. Rather, they came out of her mouth and then had to travel around to her ears before she was aware of what she had said. No, the witch asked, and grinned. Her claws scrabbled on the plate, and she began to cram thin molasses cookies and delicate frosted slices of cake into her mouth with both hands. Her horrid teeth plunged and reared. Her fingernails, long and dirty, dug into the sweets. Crumbs tumbled down the bony slab of her chin. Her breath was the smell of long dead things burst wide open by the gases of their own decay. Her laugh was now a dead cackle. Her hair was thinner. Scaly scalp showed in patches. Oh, he loved his joke, my father. This is a joke, miss, if you enjoy them. My father bore me rather than my mother. He shat me from his asshole. He, he, he. I ought to go, Beverly heard herself say in that same high, wounded voice, the voice of a small girl who has been viciously embarrassed at her first party. There was no strength in her legs. She was dimly aware that it was not tea in her cup, but shit. Liquid shit. A little party favor from the sewers under the city. She had drunk some of that. Not much, but a sip. Oh God, oh blessed Jesus, please, please. The woman was shrinking before her eyes, thinning. It was now a crone with an apple doll's face who sat across from her, giggling in a high, squealing voice and rocking back and forth. Oh, my father and I are one, she said. Just me, just him, and dear, if you are wise, you will run back to where you came from. Run quickly, because to stay will mean worse than your death. No one who dies in Derry really dies. You knew that before. Believe it now. In slow motion, Beverly gathered her legs under her, as if from outside she saw herself gaining her feet and backing away from the table, and from the witch in an agony of horror and disbelief. Disbelief because she realized for the first time that the neat little dining room table was not dark oak, but fudge. Even as she watched, the witch, still giggling, her ancient yellow eyes slanted slyly off into the corner of the room, broke a piece of it off and stuffed it avidly into the black ring trap that was her mouth. The cups, she saw, were white bark that had been carefully looped with blue dye frosting. The pictures of Jesus and John Kennedy were creations of nearly transparent spun sugar, and as she looked at them, Jesus stuck out his tongue, and Kennedy dropped a stinky wink. We're all waiting for you, the witch screamed, and her fingernails scrabbled over the surface of the fudge table, drawing deep scars in its thinning surface. Oh yes, oh yes. The overhead lights were glows of hard candy. The wainscoting was caramel taffy. She looked down and saw that her shoes were leaving prints on the floorboards, which were not boards at all, but slices of chocolate. The smell of candy was cloying. Oh God, it's Hansel and Gretel. It's the witch, the one that always scared me the worst because she ate the children. You and your friends, the witch screamed, laughing. You and your friends, in the cage until the oven's hot. She screamed laughter, and Beverly ran for the door, but she ran as if in slow motion. The witch's laughter beat and swirled around her head, a cloud of bats. Beverly shrieked. The hall stank of sugar and nougat and toffee and sickening synthetic strawberries. The doorknob, mock crystal when she came in, was now a monstrous sugar diamond. I worry about you, Bevy. I worry a lot. She turned, swirls of red hair floating around her face, to see her father staggering toward her down the hallway, wearing the witch's black dress and skull cameo. Her father's face hung with doughy, running flesh, his eyes as black as obsidian, his hands clenching and unclenching, his mouth grinning with soupy fervor. I beat you because I wanted to fuck you, Bevy. That's all I wanted to do. I wanted to fuck you. I wanted to eat you. I wanted to. All right, I'm gonna end it off right at the paragraph before this.
No, I was starting to enjoy it.
I'm gonna end it with the soupy fervor line because this is a little much. This paragraph, this next paragraph.
I was getting into it there at the end.
All right, welcome to Filmoscopy Podcast, the show where three friends gather together to discuss a film that one of them has chosen. And since it's a Cody episode, it's typically a horror movie, which this one is. And we are doing It Chapter 2 to continue on from our previous episode where we covered the first It movie. Joining me as always are Owen and Lance. Say hello, fellas.
Hello. Hello. Hello, fellas.
Hola, amigos, hermanos.
So, yeah, we're covering It Chapter 2. I think all of us have... I think this will end up being a good discussion about this, especially when you compare it to Part 1 and we compare it to, like, the TV miniseries. But before we get into it, let me get through the basic information that I like to run through for each movie. So, this film is once again directed by Andy Muschietti. It's obviously based on It by Stephen King. It released in theaters in the United States on September 6, 2019. It has a runtime of 169 minutes, making it, I think, one of the longest movies that we've covered on this podcast. The budget was $79 million, and the box office it brought in a box office of $473.1 million. The cast, all of the kids from the first movie come back. So you have Sophia Lillis as Beverly Marsh, Jaden Martell as Ben Denbrough, Finn Wolfhard as Richie Tozier, Chosen Jacobs as Mike Hanlon, Jeremy Ray Taylor as Ben Hanscom, Jack Grazer as Eddie Kasprak, and Wyatt Oleff as Stanley Uris. But obviously this is part 2, and it introduces the adult counterparts to the film. So for those, you have Jessica Chastain as Beverly, James McAvoy as Bill Denbrough, Bill Hader as Richie Tozier, Isaiah Mustafa as Mike Hanlon, Jay Ryan as Ben Hanscom, James Ransoni, I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce his last name, as Eddie Kasprak, and Andy Bean as Stanley Uris, and Bill Skarsgård once again reprises his role as Pennywise, the dancing clown.
Cody, just do a quick shout out for James Ransom. He did pass away December 2025, and he's one of the highlights of this movie. Him, Bill Hader, and James McAvoy. Yeah,
for sure. And unfortunately, he committed suicide back in December. So, yeah, it's very, very sad and very unfortunate. An actress from this film that has also passed away is Joan Gregson, who played Mrs. Kirsch. She did get to reprise her role one final time in Welcome to Derry, so that was fun to see, and but unfortunately she passed away a few months ago as well. So, but yeah, I know, Lance, you've seen this movie a few times. I've seen this movie a few times.
We went to the theater, didn't we, Cody?
Yeah, it was you, Carrie, and I all went to the theater to see this.
And I'm pretty sure that's the one where the kids would just shut the fuck up and they were sitting in the middle.
Yeah.
We were sitting kind of close to them.
Yeah, we were in the row behind a bunch of kids, and they were like just being pretty loud and obnoxious. So we ended up moving like to the front half of the theater. It's always unfortunate when that kind of stuff happens. But
they said, "Yo, shit, it's the clown."
But
it's Pennywise. What the fuck? Look at that big bitch right
there in
there.
this movie. I can't
What'd you
believe
say?
there's a clown in this movie. What the fuck? I didn't know what I was walking into. But Owen, this is your first time watching this, correct?
Yes, this was my first time.
And what are your
pop that Pennywise cherry?
What are your general thoughts about this movie?
So when I was coming into this, as per last episode, I really liked the first movie. But I really thought this one was really boring. And it was just a lot kind of more of the same. That's not even really my problem with it, is that it's more of the same. It's just like you can tell they didn't have a whole lot to work with, really, in that it's just kind of like stretched out. It just feels like a movie where like stuff's happening, but like I don't know. It's like they have that whole section in the middle where, you know, we get all the everybody needs to have their little scare moment and shit. It just seems so formulaic. I just have a lot of issues with this movie that I was kind of surprised that I would, you know.
Hey, at least you got the little reference to the Thing. Where
The thing.
Well, the Thing, you know, like where Stanley's head turns into the little alien thing.
Yeah.
And the best part is when Bill Hader, everybody's all quiet, and when it happens, he goes, "It's Stan."
Yeah.
Lance, what are your general thoughts about this film?
So I rewatched it a couple of months ago, and because I only have HBO Max on the living room TV, because we are borrowing a former friend's that I don't have any contact with, and I can't contact him and be like, "Hey man, what's that?" So I can get it on my PS5. So I was watching it then. I liked it then, and I rewatched it now after rewatching Chapter 1 a couple weeks ago, and I didn't feel the runtime, but I felt the runtime. Like, this wasn't like watching the miniseries in one go with 3 hours long. Like, that one was a fucking chore, you know? And this one was like, man, I don't know. It just felt off. Not in a bad way. Just kind of like meh. It was very meh this time around. Like, I remember liking it the first time, and now seeing people like online, like, you know, Kazzy on Twitter was telling me that, you know, he had some problems with this movie, and I guess a lot of people do in general. And I don't necessarily know, like, I'm not knee deep in the fucking lore, so it doesn't, like, that stuff doesn't bother me. This movie itself is just like, it doesn't need to be 2 hours and 45 minutes long. It like Owen says, it does drag out quite a bit.
It's that's what's crazy to me about this movie is like it feels so long, and part of the reason why I think it feels so long is because like I don't know how the fuck you can make like an almost 3 hour long movie when you have obviously like fuck all for plot to work with, you know?
Yeah. They did the heavy lifting in the first half, the first movie. And then this one, and it's not again, like, they have a great fucking cast. Like, even the worst cast member on here is still pretty fucking good. You know, so it's not like anything with the cast. I just kind of think, like, when you have the same team go right into the next project immediately like this, with, like, nothing in between, I understand they wanted to capitalize and make all the money they could. But you do lose some fucking steam, and I wonder, like, you know, you're kind of like, you know, you're kind of gearing yourself up when we're recording the podcast for, like, you're doing your episode. Like, for me, I'll just say, for my example, so I won't speak for everybody, but when I'm doing my episode, by the time we hit record, I'm, like, half-ass drained because I've, like, watched the movie, like, 3 or 4 times to try to get the information. I've done all the research I can. I've watched the documentary, whatever. So I've done all this stuff. I'm trying to get all my stuff in, so when I get to hosting, I'm trying to balance being funny like we are with my information, and I do a really bad job of juggling that. And it feels like with this, it's like maybe they just kind of ran out of steam when they were making this thing. Like the
Yeah,
visuals look good. There's
I've
nothing like
got I've got a note about why this movie is so long. So I think it was actually some of the behind the scenes content that was made for Welcome to Derry. I can't remember if it was like the behind like the podcast that they do, like the episode by episode podcast that they do where they would talk to Andy Muschietti and other like cast members and all that kind of stuff. Or if it was like in some of the behind the scenes videos they did for that show. But Muschietti had said something like they had actually gone to Warner Brothers and wanted to make a part two and a part three. Why, I don't know. I'm kind of glad they didn't, because obviously they took what they considered the best ideas from both and kind of crammed them all into this one movie, which explains the long run time. But I think I agree with both of you. It kills the pace of it. I think that a lot of the scenes that they probably could have just left out were the additional scenes with where they were kids. Where they're going back to like these like moments where they have to retrieve their tokens or whatever to perform the ritual. Yeah. And they're having like their flashbacks. It's like the flashbacks weren't necessary, because a lot of times, like for the most part, I think maybe every time, you would have a flashback to when they were a kid where they had an encounter with it, and then they would immediately have another encounter with it as an adult. You know what I mean? So like,
yeah,
you're kind of just like piling too much on. And again, I do think it was just, hey, we had all these ideas for a part two and part three, but let's just kind of cram it all into one thing. And it does hurt. Yeah. It does hurt the film. And yeah, Lance, talk about like doing a bunch of research and stuff. Man, I sat down and watched the movie this morning. Then I immediately watched the documentary that's on the Blu-ray, which is like an hour long. And I watched the other behind the scenes videos, which was another like 30 minutes of watching, on top of trying to read up a little bit on, some of the production stuff to see if there was anything interesting. And ultimately, there's not really much about the production that's interesting. There are a couple of like casting things that might interest people. Like Jessica Chastain is like longtime friends with the Muschietti siblings. For those who don't know, Barbara Muschietti is a producer on this film, and she's Andy's sister. But so like they talk about like when Sophia Lillis comes in to audition or do a table read or a screen test or whatever it was, Barbara immediately thought, oh, this looks like Jessica, Chastain, and that's ultimately who they ended up casting to be her adult version. And Bill Hader was cast specifically because Finn Wolfhard said he wanted him to be the adult version of him, of Richie. So it's an interesting, like, basically like, oh, here's the younger version of the character wants this specific person, and they ended up agreeing.
Yeah. What you need? Go ahead.
Okay.
I'll be right back. Hold on one second.
Okay. I'll continue.
I'm doing the series now, which I'm not.
Okay, there you
go. Okay. So the adult and the actor that plays the adult Mike Hanlon, I think it was Isaiah Mustafa. Apparently he auditioned. He had to do like multiple auditions for it before they determined that he was the correct or the best choice for the role. And the last time he auditioned, he said it was like actually he was going to get on a plane to go to wherever he was going to get married, and he was like 2 hours away from having to get on a flight, and they called him in to audition one more time. So he delayed his flight so that he could go audition again. And then he said when he got to the airport, he got a call from them saying that he got the role.
I did have, just one little thing to add, I guess, to add on to what you were saying about, kind of the pacing of this movie. Mm-hmm. With those flashback sequences, I think one of the things that really didn't help was that, one, they're back to back, and two, I feel like that doesn't help. Like, that's one of the detriments. We were talking earlier about how the horror of this movie, like, it's not very scary, And I think part of that is, one, the tone, which I'm sure we'll get into later, how fucked and jarring some moments are. But thirdly, like, it becomes a little formulaic, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you're expecting it every time you see it. Oh, there's going to be some kind of spooky scare.
Yeah, there's only a couple of moments really that stand out to me as being like genuinely like creepy or scary. They don't really scare me anymore because I've seen this movie probably 6 or 7 times at this point. As much as I don't think it's as good as the first one, I do still enjoy it as like a whole package. But there are 2 scenes specifically that I remember either making me feel extremely uncomfortable, which one of them actually still kind of does, I guess, and one of them was like really creepy. And the first one is when God, what's his name? Is his name? It's not Aiden, is it? Adrian.
Yeah.
When Adrian gets killed in the beginning, or like, and the guys are like, beating the shit out of him. It like genuinely makes me feel uncomfortable. And then I do like the whole setup. After his boyfriend runs down to the riverbed or whatever, and he sees Pennywise on the other side, like holding him, and then he like eats him or whatever.
He bites out his heart.
Yeah, and then the only like moment that I remember originally like being like really creepy was when the little girl gets killed by it under the bleachers. Just the way that it built, like the tension is built with that particular moment, I think is very well done. Especially like at the end when he like he's counting and he just like stops, and then as soon as she starts talking, he gets her. But yeah, for the most part, it's very much, Pennywise is here. Pennywise is going to tease them, and then Pennywise is going to like turn into his like monster face and try and kill them. The other moment, and probably my favorite scene from the whole movie, is when Beverly goes and has the encounter with Mrs. Kirsch, where it's really Pennywise. Like, I like that whole scene.
Yeah, I like that too.
Because
the part where she's like doing her little jig in the back at first is kind of funny.
Oh, where she like when she first like scurries by.
Yeah, she hits like the gritty or some shit. But everything after that, like when she runs past naked, that's a little spooky in a way.
Yeah, I like it, and I like that you see like Pennywise's Bob Gray there, because unlike the rest of them that are very much there's Pennywise the clown, this is very much Pennywise as the shapeshifter, right? Like being something else in order to try and like scare one of the main characters, which I think some fans may have complaints about. That in particular is that this movie especially relies so heavily on Pennywise being in the clown form.
Yeah, I was gonna say that because even at the end, he still has to be a clown.
Yeah,
at pretty much all points.
Yeah, like when he's supposed to be like the closest thing to his true form, in the form of the giant spider, he's still like this clown spider thing. Which I do think if you all enjoy these movies, I would recommend watching Welcome to Derry. It's only like 7 or 8 episodes or something like that, because that show does do a lot more with like, it is a shapeshifter, so you're not just constantly seeing it as the clown. And in fact, I think it's like half the season you don't see the clown at all. So it does make it a little bit more intriguing as far as like lore building and all that.
So it's funny. Real quick, I gotta do a quick shout out. Andy Bean plays the grown-up Stanley. I know you mentioned him earlier. He played Alec Holland in the 2019 Swamp Thing series that aired on the now defunct DC Universe streaming service. We were a really good like horror-based comic show that was like 8 episodes long. If anyone ever gets a chance to watch it, you ever see it anywhere because it's not on HBO Max. Swamp Thing's really fucking good. And I saw Andy Muschietti. What's his name?
Muschietti.
Muschietti. He sounds Italian, but he's from
Argentina.
Argentina. he directed 4 episodes of Welcome to Derry. So it's funny because
Yeah.
people sit there because I saw people talk about it. Well, Welcome to Derry got this right versus It Chapter 2. It's like, I mean, he developed the
He
show
created the yeah, he developed the show and he directed
and
four
directed half the
episodes.
episodes and shit like that. It's like it's still the same fucking guy doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Hey, you know who's probably really scared of Welcome to Dairy?
your mama.
Lactose
People who are
intolerance.
lactose
Yeah.
intolerant.
Do you think Oppenheimer would have been scared to go to Derry?
Yeah, he would have nuked it.
Fuck that place, man. We gotta blow up this one little town where everybody knows your name. That's a reference to Cheers. Anyway.
Also, there are a couple things I wanted to mention too before I forget because when I was watching it this time, I noticed a couple of like continuity errors, and they're very minor. But I think one of them Lance may have noticed. But you see that there's a Mortal Kombat arcade.
Yeah,
cabinet.
that's 1989. Mortal Kombat didn't come out until 1992.
Right, and then another one is like an editing mistake or a filming mistake or whatever, where when Beverly kisses Bill, when they're in the hotel lobby area, whatever, and it does that like cut back to where like it's them as teenagers, and then it cuts back to them as adults when they're kissing, and it very clearly like it has it in mid frame or in the center frame where Beverly puts her hand on the side of his face and like his ear is in between her ring and middle fingers, right?
She's just tugging on that thing.
No,
She's
so
tugging on his ear. What are you doing?
When it cuts back to them as adults, when the camera is has Beverly's face in the shot, it's his ear is in the right place because when she raises her hand up from the side shot, she does it the same way. Like his ear is in between her middle and ring fingers. But whenever the camera cuts over to where it's showing Bill's face, it's in between her index and ring or middle finger. So like when it cuts back and forth, his ear is just like in between different parts of her fingers, and it was like for whatever reason, I just really noticed that this time. I'm like, that's kind of bothering me.
Cody rewound that like 3 times. He's like, I'm gonna destroy this fucking cannon today.
But no, overall, like I enjoy this movie. But yeah, I do agree that like with you guys, it's a little too long, and man, the length of it really does it, and they just rely too much on clown version of it for sure.
So, quick question: if they had taken the kid scenes in this version and just kind of put them on It Chapter 1 and kind of even the movies out at like 2.5 hours apiece, because the first movie's only like 2 hours and like 10 minutes, and this one's 2 hours and like 50 minutes. Do you think that would have helped it, or no?
No, I think you just don't even need them, right? So, like, for one, the kid scenes for this were filmed during this filming. Like, they brought all the kids back to film more scenes.
Yeah.
They just had to de-age some of them because obviously it had been like 2 years. So instead of being like 13 years, some of them being 13 and now they're 15, and obviously they look different. But
growing up a little bit.
Yeah,
kind of like the Halloween kid that Rob Zombie had. Like they couldn't use him for the 2009 Halloween 2 for the throwback shot scenes, or when Michael shows up in his weird little dream state, because the kid from the 2 years before grew up like a fucking foot. He couldn't use him anymore.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and it's weird watching like the behind the scenes stuff because like it's very clear like, oh, they're all like taller and they look older, and whatever they do in the editing process is like, oh, it makes them look a lot more like how they did in the first movie. But yeah, I just don't think any of those scenes were really necessary. I think you could have still kept in some of the flashback shots, like maybe the shot where like when Beverly and Bill kiss and like it's reflective of that, or like where how it opens with showing Beverly like when she's been like entranced by the dead lights and they make like the pact or whatever, like that kind of stuff I think is fine. But I think even if like theoretically they had those ideas for those other scenes where they were teenagers and try to put them in the first one, I think it would have made it just be a little too much in the first movie. I think it would have ruined the pace there too.
Yeah. Hey, I do have a question since we're all the way through. So in the 1990 series, Bill's wife tries to come up there, and Pennywise, gets her. And he's riding with her on the bicycle and shit. Was that specifically just for that show, or was that actually in the book and they didn't do it in this movie?
I don't know. Let me look real quick because I'm not really sure. So this says that yes. Basically, I just googled if Audra comes to Derry, and yeah, in the book he does. Bill urges her to stay in England, but she follows him, is kidnapped by Pennywise, and is left catatonic in its lair before being rescued and eventually recovering. And it's the same. He helps her recover the same way by taking her on a ride on his bicycle, Silver.
That is interesting that this was left out of.
Oh yeah, they're just like
I didn't even remember that plot point, honestly, though. So
which makes it a little bit more. It makes it more awkward whenever Beverly kisses Bill, and it's like, dude, like you're married, and it's not like he's. Yeah. It's not like they're in like a miserable relationship like Beverly and her husband. Like you're like married to someone.
No, she beats him.
Like.
She's just beating the fuck out of him every chance she gets. He's like, please, get that dick up right now.
Reverse abuse.
One issue I found that may have also contributed to some of the moments not being quite as scary was the heavy reliance on CG in this movie.
I don't know about that. I think this movie doesn't really scare because they're adults, man. Like it's like if you put adults against Freddy Krueger, it's not really scary. Adults with Jason, it's not really scary. They're all just teenagers or at least young adults. I think the fact that they're all adults and shit like that in this movie, if you're watching it like straight through, like first one and this one, this movie really felt like, and I just picked it up on this time because I don't watch this movie a lot. This is probably maybe the fourth time I've watched this movie altogether. This time I picked up on it, like Pennywise is really afraid of them in this movie. Like he's scaring them to get them away, and it's more evident after watching that 90 miniseries that we did because he's trying to get them just to fucking leave town because they could actually do damage to him because they are adults and they know his whole gig. They don't fall underneath his normal spell. So I think this movie kind of feels like, to me, it's like, yeah, Pennywise is scared of them. He's not like even the moments where he goes to attack them. It's a lot quicker than it was in the first movie. The first movie, those scenes felt more drawn out. So I guess in canon, he may have lost some of his power over them because they're older, but.
They said we're not afraid of you anymore.
I'm speaking strictly from as like a viewer watching it because there are like I was saying earlier. To me, there are a few moments that at least the first time watching it are genuinely like creepy, and it's these moments that they don't rely on CG that much. Yeah, the Mrs. Curse part when she like runs out of the kitchen, she's obviously like. It's like a combination.
Little girl.
It's a combination of CG and practical because it is a guy in a suit, but like they use CG to for the face, like to enhance it and all that kind of stuff, and like.
Well, I thought she really looked like that.
Yeah, like, what the fuck? You mean she doesn't have two mouths on her throat? We called her the throat goat,
But
I prefer to live in a world where that's real.
There's a lot of scenes where. It's just not scary at all. Like the Paul Bunyan statue coming to life, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's stupid.
The Chinese restaurant scene didn't have the same impact to me that the one in the TV series did back in the day because it's just heavy CG and like I get it because
it's goofy.
Yeah, too. Yeah, it is kind of goofy. I mean, if you were in that moment for real and like a fucking bat wing comes out of a fortune cookie, you're probably gonna freak the fuck out.
But like, my hang up is like you can see, screen? Like I don't know, just what really takes me out of the scene is them, screaming and beating down all the shit and stuff, and you could see people like eating kind of through like the window in the back, and it's like,
and the waitress comes in like super calm about it. Like,
yeah, she's like, hey,
Bill Hader.
Do you need your bill?
Bill is like a fucking. He's probably the best part of this movie, and like I said, the guy who plays Eddie, is it James Ronan? They're hilarious. Ransoni, yeah. So they're fucking hilarious. But Bill's fucking just awesome in this one. And she's like, everybody okay? He goes, yeah, can we get the check? And he's just the one who's just breaking a fucking chair and shit. Like the whole, like, my favorite scene is the whole, like, Stanley turning into the It monster with, like, the little spider legs come out and shit, which is obviously a reference to the thing. And once it's all done transforming before it, everybody just stops and he goes, it's Stan. And then all of a sudden it just like runs to attack people. I really like that shit. To me, the CGI overabundance, you're talking to a Venom fan here. That doesn't necessarily bother me. I think it's more or less the pacing that throws it off. Because there's a lot of CGI in the first movie.
I don't know, though, because, like, yeah, there's CGI in the first movie for sure, but it's not nearly as heavily used as it is in this one. I mean, this one, you can very much tell, like, oh, we have more budget now because the first one was, like, so successful, and they really, like, used a lot of that budget, obviously, for these effects and everything. But, and again, some of them, yeah, they use CGI to enhance things, but, like, some of it is just, like, very much, like, there's nothing there, and it's all CGI. I don't like the spider at the end. I don't like that they still incorporated the clown look into it.
Do you want him to look like the spider from the miniseries?
Well, no, but something better. You know, maybe it's just something that, like, a giant spider on a screen isn't really going to scare me anyway. But, like, it's just, I don't know. I thought
the way they did the deadlights was stupid too.
Actually, that is one thing I'd like. What specifically about the deadlights do you not like?
I just think I like the way the visual kind of was as it's, I guess, described in the book. I mean, not that I ever read the book, but I like the idea of it, you know, being like the car headlights in the dark kind of thing. Like, I think that could be like a really cool visual. I don't like them being just weird orbs.
But
I find it. Sorry, I was going to say, I think it's funny when Pennywise has his mouth open and you see the deadlights at the end of it. It's like, you know, it's this big jet gaping hole in the back of his head. It looks like the Sarlacc pit before they put the beak on it. Just like fucking spikes going down his throat and shit.
Yeah.
I actually like the deadlights. I like how erratic and everything they are, because it is supposed to be sort of like what the human mind can comprehend of what its true form actually is. Like the true physical form, the closest thing is the giant spider, right? But the true, like, metaphysical form are the deadlights, or at least that's what a human mind can perceive. But even then, when they look at them, it breaks people's brains.
Get you some.
I like the sound design and all that stuff around it's really cool, and I like how, like, jittery and just, you know, all that they are. So
that kind of heavy refurb noise when when Bill Hader goes to throw the rock the second time, and all of a sudden his eyes goes in the back of his head.
Are you talking about where it goes boom?
Yeah, that shit's fucking. I really like that shit. It's like some like Godzilla shit right there.
I think another problem with why this movie isn't scary is how confused it doesn't seem to, like, want to take itself too seriously. You know, like just some examples off the top of my head, like.
Don't call me Angel, I'm your dog.
Yeah, that's a very good example.
Yeah.
Or, like, anything to do with Henry Bowers is, like, fucking weird. Like, he hops into, like, a Camaro and his fucking dead friend, like, zombie friend, is in the driver's seat.
Hey, when that zombie, like, snaps his head back and he's like, "Come on, Hostetler," and he just snaps his head back, "Let's go," and he pulls in the gear and just takes off. Yeah. That shit cracks me the fuck up.
Yeah, and I think also, I like Bill Hader, don't get me wrong, but, like, there are moments where, you know, he is cracking jokes or whatever to, obviously, I guess the character's trying to deal with the absolute nightmare that they're dealing with. But unlike in the first movie, where Richie's, like, humor really does play very well into the overall, like, pace and story and everything, time it almost like takes you out of some moments.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't think he ever had anything nearly as funny as like the kid version of Richie.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Who plays?
I agree.
Who plays the fucking Henry Bowers, the grown-up version?
Big Boy Bowers.
Yeah.
Big Boy Bauer. Can we talk about how useless him being in this movie is?
Who, Henry Bowers?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can
He
talk
just
about
shows up to stab what's his face
anybody.
once, and then leaves.
I don't see anything for Henry Bowers growing up on here on Wikipedia. This is fucking wild.
They forgot about him too.
Yeah. Okay, I gotta see who the fuck is this dude, because I'm gonna send y'all a picture of this comedian, and I feel like he is the same dude. He's not the same dude, obviously. This dude's an actor. Okay, so he's a completely different dude. So I'm gonna send you. So you can look up that dude. His name is Teach Grant. I'm gonna send you this dude. It's a comedian named Donnie Baker, and this is the only thing that I could think of when I saw this dude. I'm gonna screenshot it and send it to you guys in the group chat. And you tell me if I'm completely off base here.
I just looked up Donnie Baker. He does look a lot like him.
Donnie Baker, is that his name?
Yeah, so I'm sending it in the group chat. You can look up this. You just tell me what you think, Owen.
Yeah, they do look pretty damn similar.
So like every time I watch this, I'm like, hey, it's Donnie Baker. That dude's fucking hilarious. He's just a character comedian, but yeah, he was kind of useless in the miniseries we watched, because he came back. He dropped the N word too. I mean, that was, we're like, oh shit. And
I thought he was about to in this one.
Yeah.
When he's like,
but the thing is that the way they handled it was a lot better in the last one. Like, I mean, his end was actually climactic, and he still felt like a threat. Like in this, he doesn't feel like a threat, and I can't even I don't remember even if he dies or what,
yeah,
or if he just goes away.
No, he gets an axe in the back of his head in the library because Bill goes.
Oh yeah, they kill him in the library.
Not Bill. Bill Hader.
Mike.
Because Richie goes, yeah, you can say that was long overdue. Get it? Because we're in the library. And then, he goes, what?
If I remember right, in the last one, he kind of follows them all the way down to the thing. And there's a little bit of closure between him and, I want to say, his like goons or whatever the fuck. But I guess in this one, they just have a cool little ride.
Does he follow him down there in the miniseries? I know he does when they're teenagers, right? Because that's when the deadlights get him.
I don't know.
But I think he gets killed in the library also.
Yeah, because he hurts Mike, because at that point, like, Mike is just out of commission.
Yeah, Mike's in the
hospital. That's why he's back. Okay, that's why he's in fucking the last one, so Mike can't go down there. And in this one, Mike goes down there. There's no reason,
Henry, like, because the closest thing he does is he stabs Eddie through the face.
Which was a nice touch, because he stabbed him in the mole that creepy doctor said it could be cancer.
Yeah,
that's good. Took care of his cancer. What a nice guy.
Yeah, and I liked it when he's crawling. When Eddie's like walking out of the bathroom and she's like screaming. He goes, "Bowers is in my room," and his blood just pours out of his mouth. That was a good effect. I ain't gonna lie. He's so calm.
What if he got pulled over when his friend was his little zombie friend was driving? The cops like, "Sir, have you been drinking tonight?"
Yeah,
step out of the car.
How would you explain that? Because the zombie is obviously not there, right? Like it's Pennywise doing it, but
Pennywise has to show up as like Bob Gray and bail them out with his real money. He goes, "I've been saving this for fucking 200 years. You motherfuckers spend it all because you get caught with a speeding ticket. God damn it, get in the car." And
been collecting this from the pocket change of the children I've been eating.
Yeah, like the whole time what we don't see is Pennywise is like, every child he kills, he takes whatever money they got on him.
He's got
so he has a little bit of money
in his little circus wagon.
I mean, seriously, like he lives in the sewer, but I mean he has to have some power going to that place. So he's like, I got to pay the fucking light bill once a month. These fucking cocksuckers.
He's the light. What are you talking about?
Well, no, I mean he has like when he's not there, he has
Make sure leave the light on so people think someone's home.
like a
He
water
has to
purifying
pay,
system. He has clean water, but he leaves all the shit water outside for everybody else.
He has to pay his wastewater bill.
Oh God, yeah. Who's got to pay for the gray water? It's got to be him.
Yeah.
Like you see the cops like show up like once a month at the end of the sewer just to get their bribe, and Pennywise is like, motherfuckers, people cocksuckers. Here's the money,
So another thing with this movie, I think this is different than the book, but I think the ritual of chewed, I think is the way that they say it in the movie.
Sam
But
Hain.
the ritual of chud is
Chud.
I think in the book
Chud. Chud is the character of Mudvayne, like the lead singer. That's what he calls himself, is Chud.
Chud.
He calls himself Chud.
Chud.
Yeah, well, that's when they used to paint their face and shit like that. When they were doing like
Back in the
identities and shit like that, like fucking Kiss is like Starman, the Demon, the Cat, and I can't remember what Ace Frehley was. Maybe he's Starman. What is Ace
It's
Frehley?
just a Chud.
Oh,
Bro.
so in the
Chud.
book, they both they perform the ritual, or they attempt to perform the ritual anyway when they're children and when they're adults. Whereas in this, Mike discovers the ritual as an adult, so they try to use it, and then it doesn't even work.
It feels like, did you drug me?
I'm not
He's like,
feeling so well.
It's like he's like I'm gonna take advantage of you now. What? Guys, I think Pennywise just raped Bill. This is crazy.
Oh Lord. But yeah, so like they go down there, and I think this is why you have to have Mike go down into the sewers as an adult, which I don't know if he goes in the sewers as an adult in the book or not, but because he's the one that figures out what the ritual is, and they go down there, and then like sense. They're like, Mike, you lied to us. He's like, well, they didn't believe.
You gotta believe in yourself.
You just gotta.
Yeah, but
believe.
the ritual doesn't even matter though.
Like, it's funny. Did it not work because he was too slow putting the fucking top on?
I don't know, because Pennywise implies that like it just doesn't work at all.
So, I don't know. It almost works.
He says it's a placebo is what he calls it. So it's almost like it's just something to make them believe that it works, but it doesn't actually work.
Okay.
And what ultimately is the thing that they ultimately use to destroy Pennywise is their imagination, because obviously that's what he feeds off of and uses against them, so they're able to use it against it.
So let me ask you guys this: you've already said you weren't a big fan of the CGI Pennywise spider, but do you prefer them just hurling insults at him and then crushing his heart, or just throwing rocks at a practical spider?
That's also really lame. I don't like that either.
They're just yelling, "A clown!" Like that's really bad. Clown, it's like if you yell racial
motherfucking clown.
It's just racial terms to him. It's like, "Hey, you fucking midget! You midget! You're small."
So an interesting or fun fact about this movie. I believe that the scene with Beverly, where like the stall is like flooding with fake blood, I think that at one point held the record, and it might still, but it held the record for like a movie scene that uses the most fake blood in it. You know what I'm trying to say. Whereas the whole movie doesn't hold the record, and I don't think it ever did, because I think the 2013 Evil Dead movie held the record until Iron Lung came out. So
so when her dad's at the end, I do like it. Like the first two you see, I don't know if it's a continuity thing, because you see the chick from the drugstore who went to school with her, and then you see. Well, her dad's at the end, but you see...
No, the drugstore girl's dad, the pharmacist.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. So you see your dad. So the two times you see them, the one time for each you see them, both their eyes are yellow. Then you see Henry Bowers, and he has regular eyes, so they kind of fucked up there. And then you see somebody else has regular eyes. You see your dad; he has one regular eye and one yellow eye, like Pennywise. Because I was paying attention to this shit, and he's still daddy's little girl. But it's funny for some reason. In that moment, he doesn't look like it any other time. I guess it's just the obscured view of him. He almost looks like the T-1000 in Terminator 2. Bro, fucking, God damn, what's his fucking name? He's gonna kill me. He played in Peacemaker. He's Peacemaker's dad. What the fuck? His brother's the lead singer of Filter. Robert?
Zombie.
Not zombie. Shut the fuck up, Owen.
Through the witches and through the witches, through the back of my child.
Hold on. I gotta look this up.
Here I am,
It's
the
bothering
one.
me. So
Fuck you in the bum. Here I am, the one. Come inside your bum.
oh, Robert Patrick.
Patrick.
Yeah. Because his younger brother's the lead singer of Filter, also former guitarist of Nine Inch Nails. But yeah, in that scene where he's like, "You daddy's little girl," but you see a clear shot. Obviously, it's just obscured, and this is the shot where you see both of his eyes. It's before he gets his hand smashed when she kicks the bathroom stall. But for some reason, he looks like the T-1000 in that scene. Just I don't know, but his hairline or his hair was styled in that one scene. It was just really wild. That's the first thing that popped in my head. But Kazzy just sent me something over. I asked him, "You want me to bring up anything about it, Chapter 2? Let's see what he says." What do you guys think about the main actors for the adults? How they compare to their kid counterparts? I mean, we kind of touched on it. Do you guys think? So, do you think overall think the adult cast was pretty strong, or was it kind of like, the materials was not real strong?
I think that they're all good actors for sure. I mean, obviously, look who you have in this lineup here. I mean, like half of them are very well known actors.
Yeah.
But I just don't think the material is as strong for some of them.
They're not given
I do think
enough
that
time.
Sorry, go ahead. What was that, Owen?
No, I'm just saying that I don't think they're given enough time to flesh out anything.
Yeah, you got a 3-hour movie and almost a third of it still given to the kid actors,
Yeah.
That is strange. But we had the same complaint, though, kind of for the miniseries. Because he was asking me also, is like, how does it compare to the OG It actors from the story? Because
they're way better.
Well, I mean, they're way better because they're movie actors. They had, like, mainly TV actors. John Ritter, I can't remember his name, who plays Richie in the 1990 series, because he played a character on Cheers, and he played the main character on a show called Night Court. Thing I remember him the most from. But those were just mainly TV actors, and we also kind of said, like I said, at least I thought, the material for the 90s grown-up part wasn't well written. And it almost feels the same way for this. Like, I don't, like, there's something about it. Maybe it's Stephen King's book that's kind of weak when the adults show up. I don't know. Because I've never read the book. I've never read a book before in my life, That's, it's one of those.
Except the Bible.
It's just, well, I haven't, I've read the flap on the Bible. That's where I get all my messages. Anywho, but no, it's kind of like, I kind of felt like, because you guys have been like, this movie's just not really scary. You got like 3 or 4 moments. And the 90s series wasn't scary at all. But, obviously the 90s series had practical effects. And I like the practical effects, except for the one scene in the shower room where it was a claymation. Pennywise, opens the drain up. And this one's very, obviously you're talking about CGI. So, I don't know. I liked Bill Hader. Like, I mean, obviously I think his humor, like I think Cody was alluding to it earlier because I was out of the room talking to Riley. His humor is kind of overbearing at times. But again, I think, he's just trying to work with the script and be funny, I think, I don't know, man. I just think this movie's just, if you ever finish the book, Cody, you have to tell us what you think of the adults in the book, that part, how it's written. Because I half-assed, I don't know if it was just a little nod or a joke when they kept mentioning Bill's books have terrible endings. I don't know if that's a wink at Stephen King.
That is from the book. I don't know if the terrible endings part is from the book, but like the fact that maybe it is from the book, because Stephen King is like a lot of his books. He basically inserts himself into them as a character in one way or another, which is why a lot of his books, like there's a main character that's an author, and that's been a long time criticism of a lot of Stephen King's novels is that the endings suck. It's not the case for all of them, but I've read quite a few of them myself. I'm like, oof, this could have been ended differently.
So let me ask you this: since you guys are more well versed, especially Cody, do you think this movie and perhaps the 1990 series is weaker because it is following what Stephen King wrote for the story instead of trying to change something up and maybe improving in an area? Because I feel like people wanted an accurate what do you call it? An accurate representation of the novel. But Stephen King really hated The Shining because it wasn't an accurate representation of his book. So when they did Doctor Sleep, they had to like adapt it to where it would fit the movie, but also follow the book and then follow the Shining book. It was just kind of a hodgepodge.
Yeah.
We mean you both still like that movie, but this one, do you think like maybe if they had just changed one or two things and possibly make this movie a little stronger? Because it does feel like it's just following what Stephen King wrote, and maybe that's why it's so fucking weak. Because you have two adaptations that did it.
It only follows it to like a start. It doesn't follow it faithfully at all. I mean, it follows it in the general sense, yes. But obviously, like we talked about with the chapter one, they changed stuff about the characters themselves. So like, the fact that in chapter one, Ben is the one that's like, oh, well, this is the history of the town, but it's really Mike that's the one that brings a lot of that knowledge to the group because of who his grandfather is, and obviously that has a more direct connection as to why he's the one that's researching everything and all that as an adult.
I remember you saying that.
It's like Ben is like, oh well, I'm gonna research all this stuff. I love the library, but fuck that, I'm gonna go off and be an architect. And then like in this, they like cram in this thing where there's a secret clubhouse that Ben somehow fucking put together on his own, because on top of all that research and he's doing in the library that summer, he's also got time to go build this fucking clubhouse in a hole.
He's a handyman, bro.
Yeah, okay. Have you seen the kid?
He works with his hands. Yeah, he works with his hands.
So that would make, if you just move those two things around, like where it's Mike who's in the library, and then Mike is obviously what he's doing in this movie, doing the research about dairy and keeping track of all this shit. Where not Bill, what's the fat kid again?
Ben.
So Ben is just building shit, and then he could build the fucking clubhouse. Because it does feel like they gave a bunch of shit to Ben. And Ben in this movie is kind of a fucking weak character.
Yeah, the clubhouse thing I think is completely unnecessary. Like why? Like
spiders.
That also comes off as another thing where like, oh, we have there's an idea for something that we could have done, but let's cram it in here. It's like it feels off because you literally spent the first movie with these kids throughout an entire summer, basically, right? Where
was the time they could do this?
Yeah, and then this clubhouse or whatever is never mentioned in the first movie, or anything, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, this was like an integral part of their summer. It's like, no, it wasn't.
Hey. How about the little paddle with the ball? And he keeps doing it to Stanley's face, and it broke. He goes, "You broke it." He goes, "I broke it." He goes, "Yeah, with your face." And then it falls underneath the pallet, and you hear Eddie go, "I'm not grabbing that." And then he just grabs it, and like, you mean that ball was underneath that pallet for 27 fucking years?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of
important scene.
There's a
that was
lot
an important scene to the movie.
That. Yeah, I mean,
it does feel like they put some stuff in here to make transitions seem seamless. Like they wanted to transition, like, oh, they rediscovered this clubhouse. What clubhouse? Well, we're going to show you for the next 5 minutes. And it transitions back into them being kids, and it gives them the idea of, well, we got to get, what do you call it? A relic to sacrifice. And that's where they introduced Stanley's relic, because they didn't have one for Stanley, and it's the little nightgown cap or whatever, the shower cap.
Yeah.
So.
okay. I mean, but I feel like they could have done something else, and even then, like maybe it would have felt a little bit more important if it wasn't just explained away by Ben being like, yeah, well, I found this little thing and I put some of this stuff up here to brace it and all this stuff. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, you're like in the midst of being fucking terrorized by this demon clown, this cosmic being that lives in your fucking sewer system. But you wandered out here into the woods by yourself to set up a clubhouse and a hole in the ground. Like, it would have been a little bit more meaningful maybe if they like showed a flashback where all the kids find this thing and they're like repairing it together or whatever. But that's not what happens. Like,
Cody,
it makes no
I have
sense.
to say, it doesn't make sense. Like the 1989 reference, like I don't think Street Fighter was an arcade thing in 1989. I think the first Street Fighter came out in like 1990, and then Street Fighter 2 came out like 91 or 91, if I'm not mistaken. And because they're playing Street Fighter, the original, so it's like
the original Street Fighter released in '87.
87. What about America though? That would have been Japan.
Oh.
Oh no! Don't do it. I ain't doing it. I ain't doing it. Not doing it.
So it released, December of '87 in North America.
It did. Okay. So the Mortal Kombat 1 thing, it's just funny because you see Nightmare on Elm Street 5 on the billboard, which we've made connections between Freddy Krueger and Pennywise, and that was '89, so that was legit. But that Mortal Kombat arcade, I was watching it. I'm like, what the fuck? Are they? And I was looking at the kids if they were taller. Like, was this a couple years later where they were in high school or some shit?
Well, no, because I think am I crazy, or at the end of chapter 1, doesn't one of them say like, oh, they're moving away or whatever, or is that just the miniseries? Because I thought the same thing too, but I thought I could have swore at the end of chapter 1, one of them was like, yeah, we're leaving or whatever.
No, I don't remember that. I remember chapter 1. They're like, we promise that we'll come back here whenever it comes back. I think they had kind of already half-assed discovered it was every 27 years, and that's when they cut their hands. And
because I know in the book for sure, like after that summer, they all like basically go their separate ways. It's not like they're a group of friends for the next fucking like 7 years or whatever before they leave town.
Best friends that anyone could have were the 3 best friends.
But there's a lot of issues with the movie. I still enjoy it, like I said, but there are things that just it's definitely not as good as the first. I will say I wonder if it'll ever happen, but Andy Muschietti has like talked about wanting to make a supercut of the 2 films and incorporate like scenes that got deleted.
Look, man,
or
this isn't a blockbuster like Apocalypse Now or Batman versus Superman. We don't need a supercut of that.
The one thing I would like to see if they did it, because I think I told you all this on the last episode, but we've brought up Maturin every episode, and there's at least concept art out there for the scene where Pennywise shows Bill Maturin's dead, like his corpse, and I don't know if they ever like filmed anything and it just didn't do special effects. What's weird is the Blu-ray doesn't have deleted scenes on it at all. Like it's all like their special. The special features are on their own disc, but it's literally like the documentary and then a few more like little behind the scenes type featurettes. But there's no deleted scenes, so the only thing anyone has to go on is the concept art of Maturin's corpse and like Bill like standing there in front
looking
of it.
Fucking stupid with a finger in his thumb in the shape of an L on his forehead. Sorry. I was thinking, what if, it wouldn't have made sense though to have Maturin in part 2. Like
no, because you don't have the introduction of him in the first one, and that may be why they didn't do it.
Yeah, they probably should just readapt it at some point, like in another 15 years, just do a remake. I don't turn in it.
Yeah, maybe then that far, but I know for now, like they're fully, or like the Muschiettis are fully intending on finishing off Welcome to Derry as long as this merger with Paramount
Well,
doesn't
they
kill
said
it.
that he did say in an interview. I saw this headline. I read a little bit of the article. He said like they covered everything in the book. So if they did a season 2 for Derry, then it'd be
They
all
haven't
new
covered.
material that they have to put in a pocket.
There's one
That's not.
scene in particular. There's one part in the book that they haven't done anything with. Well,
Oh
and
no, there's two.
actually,
There's two. If you know what I'm saying.
well,
Oh!
there's several things in the books they haven't covered. Obviously, Maturin has never been mentioned, right? So obviously that's a big one. But there's one of the interstitial type chapters in the book takes place I don't know, early 1900s or something. But I think I've told you all about this before. But basically, like there's a bar where like a bunch of the workers from like I can't remember if it's like the local mine or whatever come at the end of their workday to drink and everything, and like this guy comes in and just like murders everybody in the bar, and no one does anything to try and stop him. He just slowly like goes around and like hacks them all to pieces basically, and Pennywise is there playing the piano the entire time. So like that's one thing that they've never covered in any of the adaptations. But is it that crucial? No. But if they're doing seasons 2 and 3 and still working their way backwards like they're talking about, then that's something that can be incorporated and probably in season 3 when it's in the what is it, 1908 or 1905.
I mean, they could technically do
89.
something that you know. How about they should
1908.
just do?
Yeah.
They could do a season that takes place after the fucking book. Like he comes
Yeah, but
back
what are you
or
going
some
to do with
shit.
that? It's dead.
Well, no, technically
I
it's
don't
not dead.
I don't want to spoil anything about the show. I do recommend you guys watch the show at some point if you're interested in it because
I'm not Bob Gray. I'm
there's
eater of
stuff
worlds.
there's the stuff that like you're mentioning that I think would be worth watching the show for. But
Savannah and Riley really like the show.
do they?
Yeah. What
Do
the fuck is
they?
that outside my house?
What's going on outside
So,
of my house?
if a single mother and her son likes the show, I'm not gonna like it.
You're just the guy that sneaks in to record the podcast every 2 weeks.
Yeah, I was like, I
I
gotta have some
refuse to
electricity and take a
watch.
shower.
What did we tell you? Get the hell out of here.
I refuse to watch anything a woman would enjoy.
And I started this new bit when I come home because they wanted to watch Scary Movie 3 and we just watched Scary Movie 4. And I cracked the fuck up Scary Movie 3 when the preacher or the father goes, Cody, and I just couldn't help it. Like I just think it's just so funny. But I came home and was like, all right, guys, you ready to watch Godzilla vs. King Kong 1963? Which is obviously is never going to get watched in the house. And I just keep bringing it up, like, you want to watch this with me? And like I've done it the last 2 days. I think it's going to be a bit I just keep doing. All right, guys, you ready to watch King Kong vs. Godzilla?
It's time. It's time to watch.
Because I'm watching Shin Godzilla, and Riley goes, that's old. I go, Riley, that's 2016. That was 10 years ago. He goes, yeah, but that's old. I'm like, dude, I'm trying to get you to watch a 1963 movie, and that was 60-something years ago. Come on, brother.
Whenever you ask them to watch the 1963 version and they say no, you should pull a monocle out of your pocket and like clean it off with a cloth and hold it up. It's like, oh, uncultured fellows.
Dude, look, I would suggest at least watching like the first 20 minutes of Shin Godzilla. If you ever get a chance, they have Godzilla and he goes through these like transformation stages as he's growing. Like he's not. This is the first time they've ever seen Godzilla in 2016. Like he wasn't, 50, 60 years ago and then come back. And so he's like this half-ass like big bird-looking fucking thing. He's got these big buggly eyes and shit. Like you'd think he was a fucking meme. I'm like, is this serious? This feels like very Japanese anime shit. And then he transforms into more like this like grotesque looking version of Godzilla. It's pretty cool. Like so I'm about an hour into it. But I just see this thing with like big googly eyes and I keep thinking about like just the little googly eyes you glue onto shit that shake and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like fucking like Yoshi or Noodles. I'm like, you guys are fucking, and they fucking going crazy with me watching the movie because Godzilla's like, and like, guys, shut the fuck up! You're gonna get us kicked out of the fucking apartment. But
So,
you know how that whole thing goes.
So
quick,
going back to the cast real quick.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to ask you guys is what you all thought about the casting choice as far as appearance goes, because I think that a few of these casting choices for the adults are pretty spot on. To like,
Yeah.
you get like child Eddie and adult Eddie look like they could be the same person.
They put that scene where he's in the pharmacy and you have the kid Eddie walking up just into it. It's like fucking perfect.
Yeah.
Like I think Bill Hader is really good for Wolfgang or whatever that dude's name is.
Finn Wolfhard.
Okay, well, whatever, it don't matter.
Amadeus Wolfgang.
Wolfgang Puck.
Wolfgang Van Halen. And I think, James McAvoy and the other guy really don't match.
Yeah.
But
and
McAvoy's a good actor, so I'm not going to bitch about it.
Yeah, I don't think the same thing goes for Ben and his adult version, I don't think. But that's a little bit more difficult, I think, to do, especially when you're like, oh, well, this was the fat kid that grew up to be this, like, handsome, like, man who works out a lot and all that. It's kind of, I think it's just harder to, like, really, like, take two and easily be able to, like, oh, okay, I can imagine that being the same person.
Stanley, too, because the Stanley kid...
dude, I think the Stanley adult version looks pretty spot on to the kid.
Because when he's a kid, he's got like blonde curly hair and he has a really big forehead. Then you go to Andy Bean, he's got really dark hair and his forehead's not as big. And I'm like, you usually don't gain hair as you get older. I know this, so that's the things I kind of noticed. Like, you can kind of tell they both, have like prominent like cheekbone and nose features. But the skin tone, like Andy Bean, I don't think he looks Italian, where the other kid looks very like Jewish. I don't mean this in a racist way. I'm just saying, like, I've seen Andy Bean in Swamp Thing. He looked like this dark before. He didn't have different color hair or anything like that. So to me, they didn't match.
Well, maybe
you
he
are
just goes
amazing.
To the tan. Maybe he tans a lot. You don't know.
He might be. I feel like he can kiss my ass.
How do you explain Michael Jackson, huh?
Well, that's a reverse thing. That's what you call reverse Uno.
Yeah.
She was more like a beauty queen.
Don't want to be with Jane.
Also, our most loyal listener, Young Kazzy, also asked, would it be funny to bring up the random clown craze that came out in 2016, 2018? Everybody just kept like showing up in clown shit on like people's security cameras carrying knives and shit. I've watched.
I forgot about that.
That shit was fucking wild, dude. Like, fucking a lot of.
I forgot about that too. And I remember like when chapter 1 came out, like the clown community. the clown community was like really like upset about it coming out or whatever, because he's like, clowns aren't supposed to be scary, or they were saying like clowns are supposed to be scary or whatever. It's like, dude,
mean the Juggalos?
I'm pretty sure this no, not them, like actual clowns, like
they said, hey,
party
man,
clowns, circus clowns, not just juggalo clowns.
I also heard that McDonald's was actually going to use Pennywise as like a temporary mascot for a little bit, but it didn't go over so well.
What?
Yeah, you didn't hear about that?
That sounds fake to me.
I could see them doing it.
I just made it up. I ain't gonna lie.
Unironically, I could see them doing it to be like, we're cool, we're hip with the kids.
Get the Pennywise meal.
Pennywise, I know he's like based off like Bozo the Clown, but I think Krusty the Clown's also based off it. But you can look at him like a younger Krusty the Clown before he started smoking. Are there any other things you all want to talk about with this movie? I feel like there was one thing that like.
This movie's boring. That's all I have to say.
Well, it was boring, but it's not like we've sat through some boring shit before.
Oh yeah, sure.
I just feel like if something is mediocre, I feel like how everything is just the negativity of anything is amplified, because you have to like force yourself to watch it for this. Yeah. So
that's okay. I watched this, and then I immediately watched after I watched all the research related stuff, I watched the Blair Witch Project, which is like Man, I get what this movie did at the time, but there's a whole lot of nothing happening in this movie.
I've never
Yeah.
actually seen the Blair Witch.
I've seen
You
it
can
one
believe it.
time. I didn't, it's how partially based off like the Bell Witch, like, you know, legend around our Dimdar area
Down
and
yonder.
down yonder. $200 for a fucking round trip doing everything around Halloween time. You can kiss my ass. We'll do it next year though. So yeah, there was probably one other thing, man, that I wanted to like bring up. Like,
Yeah, I feel like there's something I'm forgetting to mention too, but I can't think of it.
I mean, the part in part one that you said was a deleted scene really, like, it really shows up like when he walks in with his friends in the arcade when he calls, Richie the F word, and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot
Fuck.
about those guys because we forgot about those guys. And you said like right after he kills his dad, he kills his two friends too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yeah, it's something that should have been, like I said, it's just weird bringing back that character because he was kind of useless. I guess he's trying to kill these people and shit like that. Also, how in the fuck did he get down the window after he gets stabbed in the chest, the knife, and the shower curtain? And, it's just fucking just like random shit like that. It's like, it kind of doesn't fit.
They did incorporate one of the deleted scenes from the first movie into this. The scene where Stanley is giving his bar mitzvah speech.
Oh,
and
okay.
Then, at the end where he says something like, I guess I'll just be a fucking loser forever or whatever like
that.
that.
Because I'm a loser,
then,
I'm always going to fucking be. Like, damn.
Yeah, and then Richie stands up and starts clapping.
Woo!
Yeah, that's a deleted scene from the first movie.
Oh, that's cool. Hell yeah, bitch! That's so ironic.
So yeah, I guess if there's nothing else, I guess we'll wrap it up here and tap it up here. You know
So
what I mean?
let me ask you this question before we like wrap this up.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think
Yes.
they should have gave it to a different director? To like, it's kind of like, we always sit there and think, well, man, if the same director just did the sequel would have been a lot better.
No, I don't. I know where you're going with this, but no, because I don't think that. I think especially with something as like iconic as it, I think bringing in a different director would probably create like the Rian Johnson problem from Star Wars, where like they want to like,
Turn
and
everything
I'm
on
like,
its head.
well, they want to like force their own creative vision into it, right? And like, especially when it's like literally just a part two to a movie, you don't want that because you don't want to come in and it feel like just something completely different. Whereas, yes, the pacing isn't as strong, the story isn't as strong. Like, overall, this is a weaker film than the first one. It still feels like a part two to the first movie, and I don't think that would have happened if you brought someone else in. They in the documentary. Speaking of that, in the documentary, they talk just very briefly about like when the Muschiettis came onto the project, right? Like, because there had already been like a year or something of pre-production on the prior version, the one that had like Will Poulter and all that in it. And I guess they took a little bit to like look and see what was already there, and they just decided, you know what, we're just gonna like scrap everything so that we can like do this our way. And they ultimately decided it would just be quicker to do it that way. But because of that, like, production was delayed another couple years. So that they could like get everything ramped up again.
What do you think about the little quick "Here's Johnny" reference that they did from?
The Shining reference. Yeah, that was pretty neat.
Yeah, I thought about that. I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's just weird. I'm like, I get that reference. I don't understand why they did the Stanley turning into the Thing in the Pennywise house. I just feel like he's a big The Thing fan. Like John Carpenter.
Yeah.
I think John Carpenter did one adaptation of a Stephen King book. I can't remember what it was.
Christine, I think.
Christine, yeah. And I'm like, that's kind of weird. Like, I'm just kind of, I guess he just wanted to throw something in there that was like, all right, I'm about to do this fucking Flash movie. Let's gotta go ahead and make sure we I get something in that references The Thing. It's my favorite movie of all time. Shit like that. So
Yeah. Yeah, it is also interesting knowing now that basically The Shining is, or a version of The Shining, theoretically is canon to this movie's like universe too. So
yeah. Well, that dude, obviously I don't know his name. I think about him as only as Hong Kong Fooey. He's the only dude that gets killed in The Shining with the axe to the chest. The caretaker. He's in obviously
Dick
Welcome to
Halloran.
Derry.
Yeah, Dick
Yeah,
Halloran.
yeah, but he's also like evidently his character is in the It book. So that
Yeah,
was
he is.
something that,
Yeah.
yeah, so that was something that, I mean, I kind of, when Savannah told me, oh, yeah, that guy was in there and he says he's going to go be the caretaker of this hotel. I go, that's a weird thing to put in there. And then you told me, like, later on, I was like, no, he was actually in the book. So at least they didn't just pull that out of their ass, which is cool.
Right. Yeah.
So, Stephen King, I just think it's funny, like, Stephen King on these Coke binges, like, somehow connects all of his novels to, like, the Dark Towers. Like, the Dark Towers is, like, his archive that has all these characters, and it's like, I'm gonna take it here,
Yeah.
here,
So
here,
like,
here.
yeah, because Pennywise obviously like, or it, like the cosmic being of it is like present in the Dark Tower series, but he's also mentioned in other stories. Like, so in 11/22/63, that book deals with time travel, and the main character goes back in time and he visits Derry, Maine briefly, and he runs into Richie and Beverly, and speaks to them for a little bit. And I don't remember if the clown is mentioned or whatever. It might be in the Tommy Knockers. Pennywise shows up, which in if you base like all of Stephen King's books in the same universe, which is pretty easy to do, and I think that's typically what people do anyways. Like all of it happens in the same universe. The Tommy Knockers takes place after it, and there's a moment where the main character sees a clown looking up out of a sewer, a drainage thing, and it mentions something about like his silver dollar eyes or whatever. But it's unclear if it's actually Pennywise. Like, did Pennywise somehow survive, or if it's the whatever the alien or whatever from the Tommy Knockers, like putting that vision in their head. So yeah, I mean it's pretty cool. Oh
Jesus Christ, I heard that. My God, dude, you gotta leave that in on the podcast, dude.
I like the audible moan. The audible moan after is what really sold it.
Dude, hey man, I gotta say, like, Cody, you better not cut that out of this episode, because if that was loud enough for the microphone to pick up, it deserves to be on the show. It just deserves. You cannot wipe away flatulence like that.
Oh shit!
All right, I guess we go through our recommends.
Yeah, Owen, would you recommend this movie?
That's my recommendation, man.
Okay. Lance, would you recommend this movie?
If you're a diehard of Stephen King, man, 2.5 hours, not 2.5 hours, 2 hours and 50 minutes is a long fuck. It's really bad when you're looking at the runtime. You're thinking, man, I hope it's 15-minute credits. Like, you hope it's one of those, like, when you watch Venom: The Last Dance, like, the credits just go on and on and on to get to the last bonus scene, and it's like, feels like fucking 10 minutes. So I'm over here hoping, like, when you guys are like, let's watch this movie, and it's like 3 hours and 2 minutes long, I'm like, I hope it's like 10-minute credits, or at least 15. That'd be 2 hours and 45 minutes. So it's, yeah, if you're diehard, go for it. I mean, you can just watch the first one and be happy with it and be done with it. So, yeah.
I do recommend this if you like the first one. This is at least worth watching one time, and that's coming from someone who's watched it like 7 times. So, but yeah. Anyway, we're not, like we've talked about before. We're not going to do future episode talk. But yeah. So anyway, until next time.
Finish him
Off.